Hello and welcome to another module in research methodology. This module is on research tools. Here we will see the selection of tools, the criteria for selection of tools and the different type of tools. Measurement in research begins with the measurement of variables. It is the basis of scientific research. Hence, we need to use some yardstick to determine the quantum of the variable. For example, weight, height or some other feature of a physical object. We also measure when we judge how well we like a food or how well informed we are concerning a health problem like obesity. We thus measure physical objects as well as abstract concepts. Measurement is a relatively complex and demanding task, especially so when it concerns qualitative or abstract phenomena. Measurement in research begins with the measurement of variables. It is the basis of scientific research. Hence, we need to use some yardstick to determine the quantum of the variable. For example, weight, height or some other feature of a physical object. We also measure when we judge how well we like a food or how well informed we are concerning a health problem like obesity. We thus measure physical objects as well as abstract concepts. Measurement is a relatively complex and demanding task, especially so when it concerns qualitative or abstract phenomena. By measurement, we mean the process of assigning numbers to objects or observations, the level of measurement being a function of the rules under which the numbers are assigned. It is easy to assign numbers in respect of properties of some objects, but it is relatively difficult in the respect of others. For instance, measuring such things as social conformity, intelligence, or marital adjustment is much less obvious and requires much closer attention than measuring physical weight, biological age, or a person's financial assets. In other words, properties like weight, height, etc. can be measured directly with some standard units of measurement, but it is not that easy to measure properties like motivation to succeed, ability to stand stress, and the like. We can expect high accuracy in measuring the body weight of a person with a weighing scale, but if the concept is abstract like likes or dislikes of a food and the measurement tools are not standardized, we are less confident about the accuracy of the results of measurement. For example, in the case we are to find the male to female attendance ratio while conducting a study of persons who attend some awareness program, then we may tabulate those who come to the awareness program according to their gender. In terms of set theory, this process is one of mapping the observed physical properties of those coming to the awareness program, which is the dominion, on a sex classification, that is the range. Variables. A variable is any characteristic, number or quantity that can be measured or counted. A variable may also be called a data item. Age, sex, business income and expenses, country of birth, capital, expenditure, class grades, eye color and vehicle type are examples of variables. It is called a variable because the value may vary between data units in a population and may change in value over time. For example, income is a variable that can vary between data units in a population. That is, The people or businesses being studied may not have the same income and can also vary over time for each data unit. That is, income can go up or down. Continuous and discrete variables. Continuous measures are measured along a continuous scale which can be divided into fractions such as temperature. Continuous variables allow for infinitely fine subdivisions, which means if you can measure sufficiently accurately, you can compare two items and determine the difference. Discrete variables are measured across a set of fixed values such as age in years, not in microseconds. These are commonly used on an arbitrary scales such as scoring, your level of happiness, although such scales can also be continuous. Types of variables. We can distinguish between two types of variables according to the level of measurement. 1. The continuous or quantitative variable, and 2. Discrete or qualitative variable. A quantitative variable is one which the variates differ in magnitude. Example, income, age, GNP, and so on. A qualitative variable is one in which the variates differ in kind rather than in magnitude. Example, marital status, gender, nationality, and so on. It is useful to distinguish between two broad types of variables, qualitative and quantitative. Each is broken down into two subtypes. Qualitative data can be ordinal or nominal, and numeric data can be discrete, often integers, or continuous. Because qualitative data always have a limited number of alternative values, such variables are described as discrete. All quantitative data are discrete, while some numeric data are discrete and some are continuous. Qualitative data. These arise when the observations fall into separate, distinct categories. For example, color of eyes can be blue, green, brown, and so on. The examination result can be pass or fail, or the socio-economic status can be low, middle, or high. Such data are inherently discrete in that there are a finite number of possible categories into which each observations may fall. Data are classified as nominal if there is no natural order between the categories. Example, color of the eyes, or ordinal if an ordering exists, for example, the results of an examination or the socio-economic status. Quantitative data are numerical data and arise when the observations are counts or measurements. The data are said to be discrete if the measurements are integers. For example, the number of people in a household, the number of cigarettes smoked per day. And it can be continuous if the measurements can take on any value, usually within some range. For example, the weight of a person. Data types. There are 4 data types that may be gathered in social research, each one adding more to the next. Thus, ordinal data is also nominal, and so on. A useful acronym to help remember this is NOIR, which in French means black. Nominal. The name nominal comes from the Latin word nomen, meaning name, and nominal data are items which are differentiated by a simple naming system. The only thing a nominal scale does is to say that items being measured have something in common, although this may not be described. Nominal items may have numbers assigned to them. This may appear ordinal but is not. These are useful in simplifying and capturing and referencing. Nominal items are usually categorical in that they belong to a definite category such as employees, which is definable. Some other examples are the number pinned on a sports person. Next, coming to ordinal. The ordinal items on a scale are set into some kind of order by their position on the scale. This may indicate such as temporal position, superiority, and so on. The order of items is often defined by assigning numbers to them to show their relative position. Letters or other sequential symbols may also be used as appropriate. Ordinal items are usually categorical in that they belong to a definable category, such as 1956 marathon runners. You cannot do arithmetic with ordinal numbers. They show sequence only. For example, the first, third, and fifth person in a race. Pay bands by an organization as denoted by the alphabets A, B, C, and D. Interval data, also sometimes called integer, is measured along a scale in which each position is equidistant from one another. This allows for the distance between two pairs to be equivalent in some way. This is often used in psychological experiments that measure attributes along an arbitrary scale between two extremes. Interval data cannot be multiplied or divided. For example, my level of happiness rated from 1 to 10. Ratio scales are numbers which can be compared as multiples of one another. Thus, one person can be twice as taller as another. Important also, the number 0 has meaning. Thus, the difference between a person of 35 and a person of 38 years is the same as the difference between a person who is 12 and 15 years old. A person can also have age 0. Ratio data can be multiplied and divided because not only is the difference between 1 and 2 are the same as between 3 and 4, but also because that 4 is twice as much as 2. Interval and ratio data measure quantities and hence are quantitative data. Because they can be measured on a scale, they are also called scale data. For example, a person's weight, the number of pizzas I can eat before fainting, and so on. Next, we come to a comparison between parametric and non-parametric data. These are expressions which are used from the statistical point of view. Interval and ratio data are parametric and are used with parametric tools in which distributions are predictable and are often normal. Nominal and ordinal data are non-parametric and do not assume any particular distribution. They are used with non-parametric tools such as the histogram. Having understood the different types of data, let us move on to the next part about the research instrument. Instrument is the generic term that researchers use for a measurement device such as survey, a test, or a questionnaire. To help distinguish between instrument and instrumentation, consider that the instrument is the device and instrumentation is the course of action or the process of developing, testing and using the device. Instruments fall into two broad categories: researcher completed and subject completed instruments. These are distinguished by those who administer the instrument. Those instruments that researchers administer versus those that are completed by the participants. Researchers choose which type of instrument or instruments to be used based on the research question. Some examples are listed below. The researcher completed instrument can be the rating scale, while the subject completed instrument can be a questionnaire. The researcher completed one can be an interview schedule, it can be a tally sheet or a flow chart, while the one completed by the subject can be a self checklist, an attitude scale, a personality interview. Also, some other differences are those filled by the researcher are the performance checklist, time and motion logs, observation forms, while those completed by the subjects are achievement, aptitude tests, projective devices and sociometric devices. Now let us look at the techniques of developing the measurement tool. The technique of developing measurement tools involve a 4-stage process consisting of the following. The first is the concept development, the second, specification of concept dimensions, third, selection of indicators, and fourth, the formation of the index. The first and foremost step is that of concept development, which means that the researcher should arrive at an understanding of the major concepts pertaining to his study. This step of concept development is more apparent in theoretical studies than in the more pragmatic research, where the fundamental concepts are often already established. The second step requires the researcher to specify the dimensions of the concepts that he developed in the first stage. This task may either be accomplished by deduction, that is, by adopting a more or less intuitive approach, or by empirical correlation of the individual dimensions with the total concept and or other concepts. For instance, one may think of several dimensions such as product, reputation, customer treatment, corporate leadership, concern for individuals, and sense of social responsibility and so forth when one is thinking about the image of a certain company. Once the dimensions of a concept have been specified, the researcher can develop indicators for measuring each concept or element. Indicators are specific questions, scales, or other devices by which respondents' knowledge, opinion, expectation, etc. are measured. As there is seldom a perfect measure of a concept, the researcher should consider several alternatives for the purpose. The use of more than one indicator gives stability to the scores, and it also improves their validity. The last step is the combining of various indicators into an index, that is, formation of an index. When we have several dimensions of a concept or different measurements of a dimension, we may need to combine them into a single index. One simple way of getting an overall index is to provide scale values to the responses and then sum up the corresponding scores. Such an overall index would provide a better measurement tool than a single indicator, because of the fact that an individual indicator has only a probability relation to what we really want to know. This way, we must obtain an overall index for the various concepts concerning the research study. We shall now look into the research methods. Research methods may be qualitative and quantitative. The quantitative data collection usually involves numbers, graphs, charts, whereas qualitative data collection method deals with feelings and other non-quantitative elements. The most popular qualitative method of data collection and analysis are interviews, focus groups, observation studies, and so on. Popular quantitative methods of data collection or analysis, on the other hand, include correlation analysis, regression analysis, mean, median, mode, and others. A questionnaire can be used as a qualitative method as well as a quantitative method. Specifically, if open-ended questions are used, qualitative methods can be used for data analysis. Alternatively, if questionnaire consists of a closed-ended question, then quantitative approach is adopted for data analysis. Difference between the qualitative and quantitative method. The main differences between the qualitative and quantitative research methods can be summarized in the following points. First, the concepts in quantitative measurement are usually expressed in the form of variables, while the concept in qualitative research methods are expressed in motives and generalizations. Secondly, the quantitative research methods and measures are usually universal, like formulas for finding mean, median, and mode for a set of data, whereas in qualitative research, each research is approached individually and individual measures are developed to interpret the primary data, taking into account the unique characteristics of the research. Thirdly, data in quantitative research appears in the form of numbers and specific measurements, and in qualitative research, data can be forms of words, images, transcripts, and so on. Fourthly, research findings in quantitative research can be illustrated in the form of tables, graphs, and pie charts, whereas research findings in qualitative studies is usually presented in analysis by only using words. The characteristics of the qualitative and quantitative method are compared and presented by Vander Strijp et al. 2010. The characteristics are based on type of data, analysis, scope of inquiry, primary advantage, primary disadvantage, and so on. Also, Cohen et al. 2007 and Denscombe 2010 have illustrated the differences between quantitative and qualitative research based on main elements, approach, measure, procedures, presentation, relevant data collection methods, and sample size. There are 4 possible models of integrating qualitative and quantitative methods in research. In the first approach, qualitative methods contribute to the development of quantitative instruments such as the use of focus groups in questionnaire construction. The second model consists of a primarily quantitative study that uses qualitative results to help interpret or explain the quantitative findings. In the third approach, quantitative results help interpret predominantly qualitative findings, as when focus group participants are asked to fill out survey questionnaires at the session. In the fourth model, the two methodologies are used equally and in parallel to cross-validate and build upon each other's results. A questionnaire is a means of eliciting the feelings, beliefs, experiences, perceptions, or attitudes of some samples of individuals. As a data collecting instrument, It could be structured or unstructured. The questionnaire is used frequently and is a very concise, pre-planned set of questions designed to yield specific information to meet a particular need for research information about a pertinent topic. The research information is attained from respondents, normally from a related interested area. The dictionary definition gives a clearer definition of a questionnaire. A questionnaire is a written or printed form used in gathering information on some subject or subjects consisting of a list of questions to be submitted to one or more persons. The advantages of a questionnaire are economy, that is, the expense and time involved in training interviews and sending them to interview are reduced by using the questionnaire. There is uniformity of questions. Each respondent receives the same set of questions phrased in exactly the same way. Questionnaires may therefore yield data more comparable than information obtained through an interview. Standardization. If the questions are highly structured and the conditions under which they are answered are controlled, then the questionnaire could become standardized. The disadvantages of a questionnaire can be: respondents' motivation is difficult to assess, affecting the validity of response. Unless a random sampling returns is obtained, those returned completed may represent biased samples. Factors affecting the percentage of returned questionnaires. These are the length of the questionnaire, reputation of the sponsoring agency, complexity of the questions asked, relative importance of the study as determined by the potential respondent, extent to which the respondent believes that his responses are important, quality and design of the questionnaire, and finally the time of the year the questionnaires are sent out. Interviews are another research tool. The use of interviews as a data collection method begins with the assumption that the participants' perspectives are meaningful, knowledgeable, and can be made explicit, and that their perspectives affect the success of the project. An in-person or telephone interview rather than a paper and pencil survey is selected when interpersonal contact is important and when opportunities for following interesting comments are desired. Two types of interviews are used in research: the structured interview, in which a carefully worded questionnaire is administered, and in-depth interview, in which the interviewer does not follow a rigid form. In the former, the emphasis is on obtaining answers to carefully phrased questions. Interviewers are trained to deviate only minimally from the question wording to ensure uniformity of interview administration. In the latter, however, the interviewers seek to encourage free and open response, and there may be a trade-off between comprehensive coverage of topics and in-depth exploration of a more limited set of questions. In-depth interviews also encourage capturing respondents' perceptions in their own words, a very desirable strategy in qualitative data collection. This allows the evaluator to present the meaningfulness of the experience from the respondent's perspective. In-depth interviews are conducted with the individuals or a group of individuals. Advantages of interviews are: they usually yield the richest data, details, and new insight. They permit face-to-face contact with the respondent. They provide opportunity to explore topics in depth. They allow interviewer to experience the effect as well as cognitive aspects of response. Interviews allow the interviewer to explain or help clarify questions, increasing the likelihood of useful responses. And finally, they also allow the interviewer to be flexible in administering interview to particular individuals or in particular circumstances. However, there are some disadvantages. They are expensive and time consuming. They need well qualified, highly trained interviewers. Interviewee may distort information through recall error, selective perceptions, desire to please the interviewer. Flexibility can result in inconsistencies across the interviews, and the volume of information may be very large and may be difficult to transcribe and reduce data. To conclude this module, we have seen the different types of data. We have also seen how to construct a research tool, and we have seen the two commonly used methods for data collection, that is the questionnaire and the interview. Hope you had a meaningful time of learning these research tools. We shall look into further details of each research tool in another module. Thank you for your patient hearing.